But yeah, it was a great day. It just I have to go to so many people and meet so many people. And it was so hot outside.
Yeah, but you're looking fresh in that shirt. Do you mind telling me the story of that shirt?
Well, that's sure. Okay, this shirt was I bought it like couple of years ago. I never used it. I saw it at a place where I go and buy stuff, and I was like, "Oh, it's so pretty cool." And it like looks like Hawaiian style, kind of like. Then I was like, "Ah, interesting." And then I bought it, and I never used it because it was too small at that time. So then I now it's okay. But during summertime, I try to wear some clothes that are not like a little bit baggier, not like with
Yeah, a little lighter,
or
airier.
lighter. Yeah.
Yeah, it's got a good vibe, a good summer vibe, like you said, Hawaii vibe. I dig it. It's nice.
Yes,
Looks like you're about to go to the
summertime
beach.
sadness. You can go to the beach.
You a fan
But
of the beach, Saffron?
oh yeah, since I'm a fan of the beach. But how was your weekend?
It's all right. It was pretty low key.
You were trying to
Very
you
kind of
get
just lazy weekend.
because it was raining.
Rained a lot. Couldn't go anywhere for like most of the day. It was
Hey,
just
welcome to Asia.
rainy season,
I hate those seasons. It's just that after the rain, it's sticky, yicky, and then still you have your
humid,
AC
soggy.
on, but it's just like it's too cold, it's hot because the daytime it was too hot, then it rained, and the whole soil is so, and it's just crazy.
Yeah. I mean, it's also like it's been raining so much here. Everything is just permeated with water. The ground is soggy, and every time you step, it's like stepping on a wet sponge. Not so nice. But what I usually like in Bangkok is at least during the rainy season, it's usually quite predictable. Like it'll always pour at like 4:30 to 6 or 6:30 or something. So there's always that window of time you can expect it to rain. But then the last week or so, it's just been raining the whole day and it's been unpredictable. So we kind of lost that element predictability. So it's been a bit kind of harder for planning.
All right, guys.
And you wanna write it down. Would it kill you just to listen? And you wanna sell it out, but the words out of your position. Hold on. And you wanna see the break of dawn. Brush your hair back from your face. You won't see me when
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Every Degree Matters. This is your host, Saffron, and then we got Chris. Today, what do we got, Chris? Since we were talking about rain, and maybe we can talk about oceans.
Yeah, I think that sounds good. I mean, if you've been listening to the previous episodes, you'll know that we've brought up a couple innovations about seaweed, maybe a couple too many innovations about seaweed, but so that kind
Seaweed.
of reminds us of this great big blue ocean that we have, covers most of the Earth's landmass and, super important to ecosystems, to cultures, to economies. So thought we could take a literal, ocean dive, go
Yeah,
diving, so to speak, in the ocean.
the ocean is covered by 70% of the earth. And since we were speaking about rain, do you know what's the name of the smell after the rain?
No, what's that?
So it's called Petri. Let me text it to you. Pronounce it properly. I wasn't born in an English speaking country.
Yeah,
So
no
this is
problem.
the word. I sent it to
Does
you.
it have a definition?
Yeah, its definition is
Petrichor, I think, maybe.
petrichor, a combination of chemical geosmic produced by soil bacteria, while volatile oil from plants and during storms, ozone produced
Mm.
by lightning.
Oh,
Raindrop hits the
interesting.
dry soil, they aerosolize. These compounds create the characteristics of earthly and fresh scent that humans are particularly sensitive to.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
And it is such a great scent. I mean, it brings back a lot of memories, when you smell that smell.
100%. I love that. And how do I was doing some research these days, and this is so interesting to know. And there is another couple of things that the question that I was asking is that there's another name I learned, Surus. Okay, Susaurus. So you know what's the meaning of Susaurus?
No,
So
I've never heard of this one before.
okay, so susurrus is a meaning. It's when something is whispering through. So when there's a bamboo tree, like in the forest, like the wind blows and it's like
Mm-mm-mm-mm.
like that.
Yeah, yeah.
So that sound is called susurrus. When you walk on the bamboo trees, like you get this weaving sound.
Yeah, I think that's also a lovely sound. It brings serenity into your being.
Correct. Yeah, especially since we be living in Asia, it's kind of what
So
we
is it
think.
specific to bamboo?
It says they often most affect the sound made by leaves of trees when the wind blows through them.
Ah, okay. So in my case, one of my best memories of that is because I'm from the Northeast, right? We have winter and
Yeah, foresty.
um yeah, a lot of forest in winter. So I'd love to take walks through the forest during winter and all the leaves would be gone except for, of course, evergreens, but then also the American beech tree would retain its leaves. They would be dried up and stuff, but they would still be on the branches. The wind would come passing through the forest because there wasn't much to stop the wind, and you'd hear sort of the snow sort of going over the landscape, almost a sound of sand, and then it would blow through the beech trees and kind of rattle and make this nice kind of soft, rattling sound of the dry leaves. And it just always reminds me of home and of peace and of being in the forest and taking a walk. That rattling of the beech tree, really quite nice. One of my favorite sounds.
Nice. And there's another word that also counts. It's called apricity. Apricity, or whatever you can and pronounce it. I'll text it to you.
City.
Apricity. This is the meaning when the warmth of a sun. It's when it's very cold and when you have a warmth of the sun. That
Yeah, that
that
also.
that thing you do this and then you get the sun and you get that smell and the feel. That's the name. That's what it's called.
It also brings back memories of recess at school. In wintertime, they'd take you outside, it'd be fucking cold. And then the sun would come out of the clouds and you would just be, like worshiping the sun as it came down and warmed you up a little bit.
Yeah, that's the best feeling, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I miss California had some.
Yeah, yeah. People complain about winter being cold and stuff, but having the four seasons in the Northeast is really something nice and special.
Is it a blessing?
Yeah, sometimes. I mean, it does drag on, towards the end in spring when it still feels like winter and you're kind of just like waiting for summer.
And it's the
It's
same thing. It
definitely
feels like
nice.
fall and it still feels like summer.
Yeah, but with global warming, I think, in the Northeast at least, we're kind of seeing the seasons are sort of just blending together. We're losing that distinction of four seasons. It's a bit sad, but, winter's becoming
Do
less
you
of
believe
winter,
in
autumn's
global
becoming
warming?
less of autumn. I mean, as a matter of fact, yes. I mean, like the Earth is getting warmer, and
The
that's, I
facts.
mean, well, I mean, temperature increase.
How do you know the
It's
temperature is increasing?
well, I mean, people collect data and they project that data.
Data.
Well, I mean, a lot of people collect the data. It could be government, it could be academic institutions, depends where you're getting the data.
Are they all legit?
I mean, some are probably more legitimate than others, but as far as I know, they're pretty legitimate. I mean, there's a global consensus on the fact that there is warming. I mean, you could debate the causes, but I mean, it's also observable. I mean, again, I'm from the Northeast. I can observe that winter is not what it used to be. I mean,
Is that
look
that's
at skiing industry, for example. So when my father was a child, they never had to make snow, right? To sustain the skiing industry in the Northeast, they need to make snow because so when it's cold enough, particularly at nighttime, they'll mist water into the air, right? That'll freeze and fall as snow, and they'll plow that snow over the mountain. So that was not a necessity in the past, but because it's so warm and rains so much now during the winter, it's a necessity to keep the skiing industry alive to produce artificial snow.
okay. So here's my hypothetical. No, here's my argument point. Maybe it's part of nature that the Earth is going through a cooling phase. I heard because Earth is going through a cooling phase. It's not something that we have to be worried as much as they cure. So these radical left lunatics, as I like to call them.
Well, I mean, I think we discussed this in the last podcast. I think there are definitely different scenarios. I'm also not a doomsday proponent. I'm not saying we're all going to
Okay.
die in 5 years. I'm
Oh,
more on the side of like, there's going to be changes. It's how we want to navigate these changes that's important. I mean, I think there are hypothetical scenarios where everything spirals out of control, like climate or ecosystem collapse. I think that's theoretically possible, but it's not something I'm
It's all
gonna
yeah,
promote.
it's all theoretically possible because why? What really struck me was that when you have this whole iceberg melting and sea level rising, that's something just it doesn't make sense for me because when you have a glass of water, right? You know where I'm going with it. Glass
Yeah,
of water,
glass of water.
and then you put there's ice in it, or you put the ice later on.
Yes.
The when the ice melts, the glass doesn't overflow with water.
Yes. So I've heard this argument before, and I mean, so ice, it's what is it? It takes up more, it takes up less, what is the volume or something of ice compared to water. But it's, yeah, the point is, right, the ice is in the glass, right? And then when the ice
The wa-
melts, the water level remains the same, right?
yeah,
So
because
it
this
doesn't overflow. But the
correct.
problem with that is that you're talking about icebergs that are in the water and you're not talking about land-based ice. So what people are talking about is, well, there's two things when it comes to the water expanding. The first one is land-based ice, like glaciers. So glaciers are a significant source of water, so much so that inland glaciers and like mountains like the Hindu Kush and the Himalayas can literally feed year after year some of the biggest, most voluminous rivers in the world. That's how much water is stored in glaciers. So when you have the glaciers then melting these reservoirs of water, that does impact the water level. And then there's also thermal expansion. So as the ocean increases in temperature, which you can I'm not an ocean scientist. I'm not collecting the data myself. I believe the data people are showing that the ocean is warming, right? And so as the ocean warms, this thermal expansion particles accelerate with warming, right? So the water literally expands.
Yes.
So that causes a degree of rising. So I think that that argument with the water, with the glass of water, is a little bit inaccurate in the
How would you say?
context of
Okay, but it's. I mean, you're. I mean, there has to be specifics because if you look at the icebergs in the ocean, it's not going to raise the water level, right? Plus, maybe at some point the water was already there and it was reduced because maybe when the earth started cooling down, I don't know, maybe it was part of the cooling down process when it became ice. Maybe we constructed houses or found land that was supposed to be used to be living there. Like, for example, I remember in Sri Lanka, we built houses on lowland where flooding can happen. It's supposed to be places where you are not supposed to be building houses and residential places, but we built it because it was easier and cheaper and it was closer to the city. So those things do matter. I mean, we don't take the blame on ourselves
right.
because I mean we already know that if you are building a house in a lower land and you are prone to heavy rainy seasons and you get attacked. I mean, there's so much rain and there's flash floods and everything that comes along with it. So I also feel like maybe some islands were not supposed to be for living. Maybe we didn't see that and we
Right.
just lived out there and
I mean, that's definitely, you definitely have a point. Like, there is this idea, or at least this, people don't like change, right? For example, this forest I mentioned that I love to walk into, there's a beaver pond there that I love. And the beaver pond, I have my idea of what it is. I know that this plant grows here. I know that this footpath crosses this area, but it's not meant to be forever. The pond changes, right? Things grow around it. The beavers, they build new dams. It changes and it's natural. But I don't like that change. I like to know this footpath crosses this part of the pond. I like to know I find this plant here, this tree there, but that's just not how it's going to be forever. It changes. So, like, I think people, yeah, we sometimes have a hard time accepting that, but also planning for that, right? I mean, not
always
every
find easy
island's going to be there
solutions to
forever.
build stuff. That's what I feel like. We always find easy solutions to build stuff
And then
because of
sometimes we try
that.
to play God. Look at the Mississippi River, for example. It has a natural, every river has a natural flow and a pattern, right? But we've so over engineered the natural flow of that river that it doesn't really meander as much as it used to. And so much so that it isn't even depositing the siltation in the delta that it's supposed to. And we're literally seeing like the disappearing of the bayou
Yeah,
because we've
that's
so
because
over
we
engineered.
try to build dams, we try to build hydropowers to generate electricity. They're supposed to not building those things according to environmental. authorities or environmental concerned people. I don't understand where are these environmental what is it called, ESG reports, environmental sustainability reports, whatever they do before they build something, you know, and how
Right.
are they
Well,
going to.
yeah. Well, that one would be an EIA,
The
environmental
EIA
impact
report,
assessment.
reports. So those reports are like, people never. Oh, I forgot all those names, man. Yeah, people have. My brain hurts
Yeah,
when I
a lot of
start to.
acronyms.
Yeah. So when people, I don't know, was those reports done properly? Was it, altered? Was it, given some money and people listen to it? So it all depends on how we take this, because I strongly believe, as much as they all want to say the global warming is happening, I don't think to the extent what they are proposing is happening. I think it's part of the plan. Maybe there is a slight chance that we have help to accelerate it, but not to a bigger degree. I wouldn't say that. I think it's part of the plan. I think it's part of the. I think the Earth is still cooling down, so it's still that's the process, and I think it's part of. You know that the North Pole and the South Pole keep shifting, right? So it's not, we don't do that. Right? There's nothing to do with the Earth. We don't have the power to change that. So the axis of the North Pole
Right.
changes
But I
back
do
and
think we
forth.
have the power to change the chemistry of the climate and the chemistry of the ocean.
Well, no, we cannot change the chemistry of the ocean, because ocean is completely based on the moon, the
Well,
current,
I'm not
the
talking about
flow.
like the physics of the ocean. So, like, what I mean by chemistry of the ocean is primarily in this case, I'm referring to like absorption of CO2. So it's becoming in a lot of cases more acidic with increasing atmospheric CO2, which is often absorbed by the ocean or into the ocean. And then also, I mean, in terms of climate, atmosphere ocean linkage, I think is something people often ignore as well. So there's a big concern. People talk about the Amazon and forest being big producers of oxygen, which they are major producers of oxygen for the atmosphere, sequestering carbon and releasing oxygen as a byproduct of photosynthesis. But then people don't talk about the role of plankton in the ocean. So I think it's an even greater role in terms of oxygen generation and plankton from the ocean than perhaps even forests or vegetation. Don't quote me on that as I'm not an expert, but so they're saying that with acidification and rising temperatures and other issues such as depletion of fish stocks and the disappearance of like major cetacins like whales and stuff, which are all part of this natural nutrient cycle in the ocean, that we're seeing a disappearing of plankton, which is the base of the ecosystem in the ocean. And with the disappearance of plankton, you have also less sequestration of carbon and then less production of oxygen. So there's also concerns about like oxygen levels in the atmosphere being reduced significantly from the disappearance of forests and plankton.
Sure. Checking Google. That is right. Oh, okay. It says that there's a slight possibility. But I feel like the one of the misconception, or like this belief, is that people need to understand that Earth rotates in the coexistence of all the other planets, all the other aspects inside Earth and outside Earth, with gravity, with the slightly 23 and a half, tilt on the spin, and then axis. So it all matters. Yes, I think we alter we fool what is happening. I doubt it, to the way that where people are talking more and saying that, the oxygen is low. Maybe there's too many people at places where we are not supposed to be. People can also produce a lot of carbon dioxide, and then also plants too can produce a lot of carbon dioxide in the night. So it's not, if you look at photosynthesis happens in the morning, but in the night the reverse happens. So the plants absorb oxygen, and then they absorb carbon in the morning and absorbs oxygen in the night. So I feel like maybe I don't know. I'm kind of in the edge of these things. But other topic which I wanted to talk about is that ocean, what do you call, garbage, that's just a big, I have seen it. It's just made up of us. We just went and dumped a lot of stuff on the ocean. Like Pacific Ocean
Right.
has like a pile of mountain inside, and that could really impact the ecosystem because those are plastics that cannot be decayed.
Right. I mean, I think we're both in agreement that that's an issue that has to be tackled. It's a very visible and tangible issue. It's not like something that's a bit more intangible like climate change. I think no one can debate. You go to the beach, right? It's covered in trash. I mean, nobody can really debate that. So we can both, agree on that. But I also kind of view this, it's a major issue for sure, something I
I put it
also
on the
would like to
top
see
top
addressed,
priority. I don't think if
right?
we fix that, because that could also be potentially, helping to all this migration happening within the ocean, within the sea, within fish migration. There's so much of migration happens in every season, right? Maybe because there's a pile of garbage in the ocean, the fish don't move, fish die. There's a high possibility of that happening than what you're talking about heating.
Yeah.
Part of nature. I feel like higher temperature and all those things, it, as much as we could have, we are helping it to, we are fueling it, but it's not to an extent where I feel like ocean waste is much visible, and I think that could help the tons
Yeah.
of waste products in ocean.
I mean, I'm of the opinion, to me, that's maybe on third level of priority for the ocean. For me, the first and second place kind of oscillates between climate change. We don't have to agree on that one, but that's my own opinion. And then the second one, also again shifting between first and second and priority list is fishing. So I think, plastic's a major issue to marine life, but I think fishing is much more of an immediate threat to, not, well, I would say an immediate threat, but a in terms of its capacity for mass destruction, I'd say fishing is much more of an issue for marine life than
Like
plastic
there's no
pollution. And
fish to
also, some of
fish.
the most harmful forms of plastic pollution are from the fishing industry. Stray nets, hooks, all these other kind of lines. Things that just pile in. They form a significant percent of the volume of marine plastic debris as well, fishing waste. So that's also an interlinked issue. It's fishing and is also part of the problem with the plastics. But plastics is an issue, but for me, it's not like the number one priority.
Okay, and because why I put it as number one is that we also consume microplastic through this fisher, so that also comes to a health concern as humans, right? Because we don't know that we are eating so much of fish, and then mercury pollution, it all happens. So pollution of ocean can alter the seasons automatically. So because ocean controls the seasons in the world. People think it's the clouds, but it's very little of the clouds. It's the ocean that controls all the seasons. So to a vast degree. So I feel like if we start cleaning up the ocean, which we can, and then start stopping putting dirt in the ocean, and that'll be a good step to clear up so much tons. I just looked
Yeah.
up, there are like 11 to 12 tons of wastage of plastic enters the ocean every day.
Yeah, it's also not just a matter of cleanup, it's to stop it at the source because you can clean up a beach all day, one day. The next day, as soon as the tide comes in, it'll just replace all that stuff with new waste. So it's a matter of also like stopping the waste at the source and proper waste management. And so with the source, in a lot of cases being like river mouths and stuff and drainage areas. And
I also feel like at some point I did learn there will be more waste plastic than the ocean fish. I've heard
right.
that many people say that. So that's a big concern because fish is one of the biggest producers of food that feed the humans, right? So then
Yeah.
also we are also growing population at a, what happened, this is what I felt like has happened in the past decade or two, because the population increased at a rapid level than we expected. And now it's declining in a rapid level. So that's pretty scary. The population went up, but now we are on a decline of population. We might hit like 10 billion and that's it. I
Right.
don't, that's what they're predicting. So because of that, it's just a whole, let's move a little bit to sustainable consumption and production, where that connects with ocean, because the packaging, how you produce something, it's all about from raw materials for anything to be uncooked stuff to all the way getting into your dinner table or building a house, anything you can name, right? Every single aspects of life was made by humans. So
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, sustainable consumption production for me is one of the most important areas of sustainability easily. One of the most overlooked, weirdly enough, I feel. But on that topic, Saffron, what do you think about this UN Environment Program effort to do a plastic ban?
well, they're planning to ban the whole world.
So I'm not sure myself about the specifics, but I think there would be some impact on the ability to produce and consume plastic significantly.
I think it's good to ban single use plastic. That's something that I will be more open to. I think they already banned the ocean conference that they had. I think they already banned single use plastic. I don't know if the countries are signatory to the agreement, but they always have this ocean 2030 or 2045 agreement.
Right.
Look it up. So they have,
I mean, last I checked, I think there was like something was stalled, I think.
as usual in negotiations, don't get me there. Oh, one day we should have a whole episode about how negotiation happens at all levels, international organizations, disaster, and how people use that as
Yeah.
a quid pro quo for something
Um,
else.
yeah, but I think we can put in the resources in the description later, the link to this effort in case you're interested to follow the negotiations.
Follow the quote unquote UN failing institution that has a lot of problems to be fixed.
Yeah,
I
but
think
sorry, go on, Saffron.
no, I think the problem is that as much as I love UN and some other organizations, agencies, they call it, I think they lost the core value. The core purpose of doing things became lost in the last 30 years, I would say. I mean, I think they should have stick to humanitarian aid and helping disaster relief. I think they should have focused on, and also
Yeah,
I feel like they should have brought everything under UNDP.
yeah, and that's a
Does it
common
stand for?
argument.
United Nations Development Program. You can put everything under that umbrella. You don't need
Yeah,
anything. Like maybe you can have subdivisions, but why do you go on and do separate things? Like some people do the separate same things, same stuff, different
right.
entities.
Yeah, and that's a common criticism of the UN is the overlapping mandates between all these offices, which is probably, I think, a challenge that needs to be rectified. And yeah, I mean, a divergence from some of the core functions of the UN in its mandate, its charter. But I would say a lot of these have arisen out of need and for better or for worse. But also, there's an overlap between the core mandates and a lot of the issues they work on. For example, taking the ocean, you know, some of the UN's most impactful work, I think, actually surrounds the ocean with things like the IMO, the International Maritime Organization, that actually controls, regulates, and to some extent, a lot of marine activity, which overlaps with also with things like security of member states in terms of
Yeah.
defining, national jurisdictions over the ocean. There's also, things like human rights, which overlap with this recent idea of like the human right to a healthy environment. Food security that you mentioned is linked to the ocean as well. So, I mean, FAO does a lot with fisheries to ensure that there's healthy fisheries that ensure food security, which ensures peace, right? So it all links back to a lot of the core functions of the UN. But it's just, yeah, maybe it's a bit bloated and not necessarily the most effective.
I think since they are reaching 80 years this year, no empire is immune of collapsing. I feel like this is the beginning of the end. So this is the end of the
Right.
beginning of the end.
It's possible, but I
Because
would
I
like to
feel
see
like
maybe it reform.
I feel like we need some new institutions or different institutions completely separate out of no connections or anything. I don't know. And I also feel like there's a growing lot of nonprofits right now losing a lot of money. The other day I was talking to one of the leading nonprofits in the UK. They're cutting down. As much as I like all those things happening, there is always corruptions. There is always extra expenditure. There's always wasteful expenditure that I have seen. I think it has come to a limelight at the point that, like, okay, guys, you need to pump the brakes. All these people that were working on these international organizations, they got big, big, big lifetime bonuses. salaries and stuff like that. The UN at some point had their pay somewhere equal to how much they were spending on other stuff too. It was so much high for people to work. I feel like they should close down all the residence coordinator offices and maybe shrink it down, combine with an embassy, combine with a country that more likely to have a small office. You don't need to have, like in Sri Lanka for example, there's a WHO office, there's an FAO office, there's a UNHCR. It's like 20 offices for what?
Right.
And I don't understand why they have 20. It's just bonkers to have
Well,
all those
I would understand
separate
why
places.
if you could justify the cost, right? If there was actually, like in my ideal world, the UN would have a presence everywhere and would be effective and would be responsive and would have an important role to play. It's just, I guess, whether or not you think it's actually fulfilling that responsibility.
Because the problem we have is that the 5 permanent members do not follow the rules of the engagements. Don't
Yeah.
follow the rules of engagement. How can you force that to a General Assembly member
Yeah.
of the UN? So that's the tricky part. So it's like, oh, so you are the headmaster, and it's just that it doesn't make sense. Just because they created it, or they were the founding fathers, or whatever countries, so they're immune to do anything and they can get away with it. And then look at Russia, look at China, look at so many countries, they can do whatever they want, and the Security Council doesn't say anything because it's part of the deal. So then they have this extended Security Council members, which is a bullshit crap. I feel like they should change it, completely get a new one. Look at League of Nations back in the days, how it transformed into the
Right.
UN. So maybe something new would come up because AI is coming up. A lot of things are changing. But in terms of ocean, I feel like everyone has a role to play. Forget about the UN. That's the other problem I have. When UN became more famous and people starting to know in the last 10 years or 15 years, everybody thought that it's the job of the UN. UN cannot do anything. If a government says no, that means no. If there are, I don't know if you studied international relations, there are 2 types of agreements. I think it's called, oh, my brain is going to hurt. Hold on. Let me think. I think it's called, so if I don't know the name, so here's what it's called. So some countries, it's called, oh, fuck. Okay. So some countries, when the agreement is signed by the government, it automatically becomes a law, a global agreement. Some
Mhm.
countries, it has to go through their parliamentary system or Congress or Senate system to get it approved. So all those agreements, even though they are a signatory and it's globally rectified, countries can still not obey it because it's not legitimized in their local parliamentary system.
Yeah,
It's
I
a
mean,
two-way. I
there's a major
forgot the.
distinction to be made between, yeah, because people think, right, when the UN has these agreements, like that's it, it's done and dusted.
No,
No,
it
it has to
doesn't
go
work
through
that
all
way.
these processes and it has to be implemented, and it's much more complicated than just simply adopting
Yeah, it
an
has to be
agreement.
rectified at the local government. So if they don't, then it's not a law. You can always talk about it. You can always do something like that, and that's why, for example, the Kyoto Protocol failed. So I mean, wasn't a success because a lot of countries didn't, to rectify in their own within their own system. Even the Paris Agreement is going to a dead end. So that's a whole different story.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is that I think people, I think growing of nationalism is also good to some extent. At least people get, oh, my ocean is common to everyone, but my part of the ocean is getting dirtier. So let's fix it. Let's do something. And I feel like you're right. Starting to stop it at the source of the waste is much better than cleaning it up. But I feel like, yeah, okay, so if you have to clean it up, clean and then also produce some stuff that are usable. Like I hate paper straws. They're soggy. It I mean, you
Yeah, they're not great.
They are not great. You have to listen to that song I told you, God's Country by YouTube. It says, where are the innovations? Where are the things that we as human were there? Like, that's a great song written
Yeah.
decades ago. And it talks more about, like, where are the dreamers? What happened to them? Like, this is America, I mean, or the world. Like, what happened? Like, in the last 20 years, we haven't built something that starstrucks people,
We
or
can.
like we are like, wow, except Elon breaking through and building electric cars. And hats off to him for doing that, because he broke that silence. Look at how many cars are
Right.
there right now.
We
People
are
hate him.
leaders in AI, though.
Huh?
The United States is a leader in AI.
Because we have to be a leader in AI, and we have to be responsible as well. So that's what I like President Trump, because he's doing a lot of things that's the tone face for the future, because so much can go wrong. We also have to innovate. We also have to find new things. That's what Jeff Bezos said. When he built Amazon, he had everything. That means he had the internet, he had the shipping. So he just need to connect all the dots.
So I think towards the end of the podcast, we can actually talk about some innovations coming from the United States in the ocean economy.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just saying that how important is that to build stuff and keep, so this innovation needs to happen. Yeah, I don't see hackathons, ideas, organized, innovating aspects, incubator programs. There are some institutions, universities that do that.
Yeah.
Opportunity. There's so much things that we as Americans needs to do. Like, we in the United States, people have responsible to doing it. So as to be the leader of the world, to set the tone, and say, look, invite everyone, and together we can grow. Because right now, I don't know, man. I don't feel excited when I wake up in the morning. Or, like, I feel excited, of course, what I'm doing. But I also resonate what Elon said. You can't always talk about negative things. You have to always talk about positive things. You have to wake up in the morning and say, you can do this. We can do this. We have overcome World War I, World War II. Go back on history, the Ottoman Empire. So much things that we have overcome. We as humans are growing with the earth, and with everything is changing. I call it the equilibrium is growing. It's all connected to each other, and it's so fascinating to see that the humanity is stepping ahead. And I feel like we should be able to accelerate it and then work together, because that's how we can build things and innovate things. Look at Einstein. Einstein, because of Einstein we have so much things. And now, because of Elon, Einsteins of today's world, or Sam Altman, like, as much as I don't like
Yeah.
them, they're brainy, Gen,
So
those
if I
people.
can just expand on that quickly, Saffron. Actually, the first I wanted to make a quick correction. So I had talked about IMO and boundaries, but that was actually United Nations Convention on the Law of Sea that sets the marine boundaries. So just quick correction on myself.
Disgrace.
Yeah, totally disgraceful. I apologize profusely. It's horrendous mistake.
It's fine. I don't even care whether they exist. Remembered it when you said they exist. I'm like, oh, that organization. Yeah.
Yeah, so it wasn't IMO, it was UNCLOS, United Nations Convention on the Law of the
Okay.
Sea. But about the innovation, so I think what also makes the United States so exceptional in terms of innovation, it's research. The United States has great research capacity across all its universities and institutions, but I think that's something that I'm seeing the Trump administration is attacking. And I'm concerned
Stop
what that
blaming
means
Trump
for
for
American
everything, as if
innovation.
Trump has become the president only for like 6 months. Where were the innovation before? What did they do? Nothing.
Right, but it's quite clear that they're interested in making cuts to
But they also
research
make
efforts.
money by asking people to pay. So why can't they use that money? They are getting endowments. For example, Harvard University gets $52 billion in endowments. So I don't think the $2
I mean,
billion
to be honest,
is
I don't
going
know
to
how
change.
that's structured, and it does seem a bit ironic that a private entity charging students a tremendous amount of money would not be able to fund its own
There you go. So you
research,
have the
but I'm not
Irish.
sure how that works. And as I understand, research is very expensive. So, I mean, they probably do rely to some degree on external
Nobody wants to burn
resources.
their own cash.
Well, that too.
Yeah, so that's human nature.
But it's
And plus,
also
you're living in a
the
capitalistic world.
government, right? But it's not just about spending your resources, because when the government is spending its resources, it also has an investment in that particular technology, right? So it's also
I
strategic
doubt
for
it.
the government to make investments in
I don't know all
technology.
these fundings that they give. I don't know if it is set in a way that they will own all those things. I don't know that because that's the question that's the research that we need to know and find it out. I feel like if it is a grant, it I don't know the structure how it works. I do know for a fact that when you apply at sam.gov or there are a lot of funding programs that you can apply in the US, I don't know if they own, so the government owns things. I haven't we need to clarify.
I'm not sure,
So
but I mean,
like I said,
it's not
stop.
necessarily a matter of ownership, though.
Yeah, I just get so annoyed when people start blaming Trump because he has been only the
Well,
president.
I'm not saying one thing or another. I'm just saying, as a matter of fact, that they seem intent upon
Yeah,
defunding research.
yeah, but the thing is that I hear what you're saying. At the same time, all these big institutes, like I was there at MIT last summer, they had just built a $1 billion investment on AI. So they have money. They charge, like, to study at MIT, you get 400 grand for 4 years of your schooling. So that's like a big, and then you put into loans. There's so much. I feel like, well, you can say whatever you want. I'm not blaming you, but that's the First Amendment, so you can say it. But I feel like it's so disingenuous to people to talk that, oh, President Trump is cutting everything, rather than those institutions have money, those institutions have made money. Why can't they invest their own money?
Well, that's an
And
interesting argument.
they have money, they have, or maybe if they say, okay, we can lower the school fees for people to enter, why can't they lower the school fees? Why? Because of President Trump's actions. Harvard University started giving scholarships this year for 2026. For next year, a lot of people have started giving scholarships so the people can
Right.
join. And also, I feel like universities have to be neutral. They should never get involved in politics, because the more you get dragged into politics, I mean, universities is where you build things.
Right,
You
but I
can't
mean, you're talking about private or public universities.
both. Anything. I
So,
think they should
well, you're
be.
defending freedom of speech, right? So, can a
No, I'm not
private
saying that
institution not?
teaching them. I'm not saying that they can do whatever they want. It's just that I want them to be. See, look at all the Ivy League school. So liberalized, it's at the core.
Oh, they're very liberal, yeah.
Yeah. I would prefer them to be neutral and be like, okay, here's this side of the teaching and here's the other side of the teaching. The students have, you have to equally, look, the freedom of speech also says that you have to equally let them know. It's the people that should decide which is right and which is wrong. But right now, what I see, they are imposing their own ideology to the kids that go to school there. Where I
Yeah,
get a little
and
bit.
I'm not also personally, I'm not a fan. I mean, I'm not a big fan of things that veer to one extreme or to another. That would also be my ideal scenario, is that they would be more neutral in terms of practice, in terms of information, what they give you and how they teach you. But at the same time, it is a private institution. You choose to go there. So how can the government tell them otherwise? Unless they're really promoting extremism and violence
They
and
do.
really
Like, look at
crossing the
what happened to
boundaries.
Colombia, what happened to Penn State. Like, oh, with all these Palestinian issues, all these things. Oh, yeah, it's crazy out there. And then also look at universities. It's the problem that I see. Those universities do get funding from the government, one or another way. So they are part of the system when they get the money. All get
Right.
probably research funding, something like that. And then if you get taxpayers' money, I think it's their duty to let them know both side of the story and let them decide whether what you wanted to do,
Yeah.
rather than imposing your own ideology within your kids. Sets the
Right, sure.
tone.
But when it comes to scientific research, which is inherently less political, I don't mind if my taxpayers' money goes to scientific research.
I don't mind too, but what I'm just saying is that as long as you don't promote, you don't, for example, I don't want to spend money on gender transition. Like, that's not my area. Woke bullshit is
Right.
dead. So you have to also, like, we as humans, I think in the last 8 years, lost our brain out, and we went extreme in so many things, which we could have pumped the brakes and said, hold on, there are so many other things to focus. And now people are pivoting towards all those things because people are starting to realize what the crowd wants. So I read the other day, there are 42% and 43% of Democrats and 47% of conservatives or Republicans. That percentage doesn't change because the environment, household. It's only the rest move towards one or another. So that's the deciding factor that we in America have right now. So, as much as I'm a fan of freedom of speech, people are trying to misuse it. So, you have to be in a country where you don't have freedom of speech.
Yeah.
And
Well, that
then,
reminds me a bit of a quote that maybe we can talk about in the next podcast. I think I talked to you about it before from Isaac Asimov, the science
yeah,
fiction.
yeah, I know that. Cool. So, I feel like we have to fundamentally change. I think the change should come within us. The change that you can do every day to become a better person that resonates that around you. Oceans are the biggest gift of God. If you believe in God, and so many things happens with the ocean, and why do we have to pollute it and make it bad?
Yeah. Destroying this lovely creation.
This one,
You had also asked me, right, where am I getting some of my data, right? Well, one of the major sources of oceanic data and also climate change data is the National
is it Noah?
NOAA, sorry.
Noah.
Yeah, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, I think
I
it's
know
called.
people at Noah.
So they're also under threat from the Trump administration, primarily due to the administration's view that they're promoting climate alarmism and
See,
environmental
that's the
issues in
problem.
general.
The last
Um,
couple of years, or probably like in the last 8 years or so, this radical ideology of any topic is being promoted. That's what I don't like it.
well,
Stay back, and 15 years ago, everything was normal. Like
sure.
we still
I
had
mean, you
functional stuff. People liked it. It was all neutral. It wasn't taking sides. It was like, I think when they start to play ideological politics, that's where I start
I agree.
getting
I see
hurt.
what you mean, and it is a public entity, so I don't know specifically what they've said, but if they are being polarizing, right? Why not reform the institution instead of demolishing it? Because it is a very important institution, Noah,
But the
and it's
problem
also
is,
for disaster relief and
yeah,
etc.
and what with Doge, Elon tried to do was that they tried to reduce the spending, cut the spending, and they also started to update. The computer system in the US government is so outdated. So nobody's never thought about it. So now that's the reason he was trying to do. Maybe he went far too extreme in talking about it. Maybe he could have toned it down a little bit, but it's up to him. It's freedom of speech. But I feel like whatever he said was true, and whatever he said was the right thing to do, because they couldn't go the other way because so many things were dependent on many factors. So he could have done it properly with Doge, particularly firing people. People would have relocated. They could have not fired people, but they did start to hire back. What they did was, that's how a company does. I heard afterwards when I did some research, they fire everyone and they hire back whoever they need. But they didn't look at the things of, okay, he was trying to change 4 decades enrooted system in at a very
Yeah.
short span of time, and that backfired. He should have done it in a slow and a smooth transition way that could have
Well,
helped,
that's
which
always the
needed.
main criticism, right? The lack of a transition.
Yeah, I mean, people would have bought a new house. What are they going to do? It's sad. At the same time, we are also spending. This year, Americans will pay $1 trillion alone in interest. So we are not making money. Whole world benefited because of America, and then we ended up in a $37 trillion debt, which is going to go up to 42. We are not netting so that we can pay off the debt. So I feel like the system is deeply enrooted in corruption, wasteful spending, and I think they should first of all update everything because that's just come on, United
They
States
need
of
to
America.
change that name too. It's named after a meme. It's,
Well, it's Department of Government Efficiency. I
yeah,
think it
come
was
on, but you know, they
coinciding.
named after the meme.
Well, it became, I think it went the other way around. They never thought that it could be something like that, and then it became Doge, and it was awesome. That's the best thing happened, right? I think it's a coincidence.
Come on,
Government
they're
efficiency.
trolling. They're trolling.
You can say whatever you want. And did you see Elon's $1 trillion package? That's a- So the Tesla board gave him $1 trillion package, and that will glue him to Tesla. So he has to work and get the money and not get involved in any other things.
Yeah, I think that's good. He was becoming a bit too erratic. I
Well, I
think.
think he has the largest, one of the free speech platforms in the, I would say 100%. I don't trust Mark Zuckerberg. I don't trust any of these guys because it's all
I
part.
don't trust Musk either.
Yeah, of course. But at least he's a humanist. So, anyways.
Eh,
All right, gang, we are coming to an end. So, what do we got, Chris? Do we have the innovation? I hope you guys, oceans cover 70% of the world, and it's
biggest
really
gift of
important.
God.
And then it's a gift of God, and that really impacts the, as I said before, especially the seasons, especially climate change. It all connects to the ocean, and it also feeds a lot, 8.1 billion people. So there you go. And what do we got on the innovation part, Chris? Well,
Sure.
but before you start, I don't want it to be anything related to seaweed. Just so you know, I'm done with seaweed. Audience are also done. Like people who are listening, they're like, guys, talk about something else.
Sure, no problem. Let me just share my screen quick.
Sorry?
Let me just share my screen. You can see, right?
Yeah, I can see myself.
So we talked about data, right, and how large the ocean is. So those are two issues, right? Collecting data over the vast expanses of the ocean is a major challenge. So a lot of the decisions we make based around the ocean and development around the ocean and even laws around the ocean are made in the dark, essentially, because we don't really have a lot of data on the ocean. Because it is such a vast open expanse, it's extremely difficult to get data. And even talk about things like fish, right? You know, how do you get all this data on these moving fish in this vast expanse of the ocean? So one of the solutions to this is some companies producing autonomous research vessels. One of them that's already been launched is called the Mayflower AI Sea Drone, launched from Plymouth in the United Kingdom. A fully autonomous research vessel that's capable of doing long range, multiple out in the open expanses of the ocean, collecting data, fully autonomous.
Sorry to cut you. Who are the funders of this program?
I'm not sure about the
Oh,
funders, but this is primarily with the Plymouth Marine Laboratory. I think it's based in the UK,
so it's by the
from
government.
Plymouth, but it is coming from the UK.
I just want who
And
are the. Let me do a quick research.
yeah, that would be interesting, actually. Partially sponsored by funding from the UK's Natural Environment Research Council.
So, okay, click that. I want to see who are those people. Oh, interesting. So go down. Who are the funders of the council? I do know that they did have like a LEAF program that they funded a lot of $2 billion. I should say. Our organization, like our structure, they
Right,
must have.
so it's based on councils.
Yeah, okay, there you
It's
go.
part of the
So
government
that's
spend. I think it's partially received some, yeah, government funding.
DSI education.
And that again goes back to my point I was trying to make about the importance of government funding for research. So it doesn't have to be political, right? I mean, getting data on the ocean doesn't need to be a political exercise.
Well, but the thing is, data is something that's so valuable than money.
But that doesn't make it unimportant. Just because data can be politicized or often is politicized doesn't
It
mean
can be
it's not
used against
important.
us. I'm just,
But it's also just an interesting piece of technology because, I mean, solar panel to fully autonomous, you don't need a crew, which removes one of the biggest
so
logistical obstacles to these research missions.
Yeah, look at so go look who is the CEO. It said somewhere over there. No, on that page.
Yeah, I saw that somewhere before.
So it was here. Da, da, da,
Maybe
da,
it's
da.
under.
This is so outdated. No, I'm talking about the project. There's a CEO for the project. Some professor somewhere.
Oh, okay. That's the project.
Okay, so let's look at who works with us. I kind of like to do this
Yeah, no, it's a good idea.
just so people can. So it says who we
Work.
fund, who work for us.
How we're governed, maybe. So how we're governed.
So is that the vacancy part?
So enable our CEO to perform. You could probably do a research online, just a quick search. Who's the CEO of?
Oh, okay. So click at the executive committee.
Oh yeah,
There
UKRI
you go.
Executive Committee.
There you go. So who are the members? Oh, there you go. There you go. You got the people that you need. These are the people
Chief
who run.
Executive Professor Sir Ian Chapman.
He
He's a
got
sir, isn't
knighted.
it? Interesting.
Hated.
Professor too, always good in my opinion.
So this guy is from Fusion International. Oh, he worked with IMO. No, yeah,
International
I,
Atomic IAEA.
I.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
It's also a very substantive branch of the UN in terms of expertise.
Yeah, I like them. They're pretty solid. So go down.
Knighted in the King's New Year's honors. The
2022.
fellow of the Royal
Okay,
Society.
2023.
So his background is more in nuclear, but they probably
Why would
fund a
someone
lot of
see,
different.
this is what I don't understand. Why would they put someone with nuclear into a data collection with AI?
Well,
That's what.
this is, I think they fund many different things, not just this one.
Oh, okay. So no, but go back to that page. Over there, it said that click the find the CEO. It says the CEO.
Yeah, let me find the CEO of Plymouth Marine Laboratory instead.
Oh, okay, that could be a good thing. So they okay. Just put CEO.
Professor Icarus Allen, perhaps.
Okay. It started in 1988. Interesting.
Yeah, he's the chief executive, Professor Icarus Allen.
Oh, he has his phone number, switchboard. He's part of the. So look at his history. I just wanted to know if people who are running these things do really have an idea what they're doing.
Well, I mean, they have workable technology, so I'm assuming
Well, it's
they
AI,
do.
so they need to have technological
Well, I think
influence.
the AI might be utilizing the data collection and the navigation. I'm not sure it's
Scroll
necessarily
down.
in the.
So okay, his background is in multidisciplinary, numeric. So go up a little bit. Sorry. So go up. Then he writes. Okay, so look at his so that
Modeling of
paragraph.
marine
Yeah,
systems.
yeah.
I
So
mean,
there's a
he's
new.
got expertise, I guess, then, in terms of
Okay.
marine
So in general terms, focusing on works that has been
science.
coupled by physical and biological modeling of. Okay, okay. This guy has some. Where has he
Yeah,
worked?
he seems legit.
The
That,
university.
that,
Oh, look. No, he says.
well, he's got
So he's a
publications, right?
professor
If you look back in 2006, yeah, he's a professor.
at that university.
Mm-mm.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, it seems
Oh,
pretty
I
legit.
miss those days of where I had my names on those research papers.
Yeah, those are not behind you, Saffron. You can always do more.
Yeah.
But another thing I thought, speaking of AI, this was quite interesting. I thought so. Talking about our friends from NOAA, right? There was this article I found a few months ago on AI in aquaculture.
Huh?
So they use AI
Agriculture.
systems to in aquaculture. So like there's fish
Aquaculture.
pens right off Hawaii, right? So they used AI to help them determine the behavior. I think they used like videos and photos of the seals and stuff to determine the behavior of the Hawaiian monk seals in terms of its interactions with the fish pens. I
How
thought that
does
was
a
kind of
Hawaiian monk
interesting.
seal look? Can you?
Yeah, it
I
looks
want to
like a
see the
seal.
picture.
There it is. It's just a seal.
Google that. Oh, there it is.
Hawaiian monk seal.
Zoom in. I want to see a monk scale. Oh, you're using DuckDuckGo. It's good.
Yeah, of course. Why not? It's not the best browser, but
Ooh, look
it
at
just
that.
looks like the most generic seal.
Okay, it's just a name they have given. But I have some stupid question. Do you think when they say on the fish that we buy, when they say like wild caught, so is it
Mm-hmm.
they net around on the ocean and then they catch it?
It's
They
a good
do this
question.
like
Yeah,
I feel
I think
like
there's
there
a
is like
lot
a
of
gray area.
yeah, probably, and it's like free range eggs. Just because you have like this bullshit like 5 meter by 5 meter pen that maybe one chicken per day is going to go outside in doesn't mean it's free range. So wild caught. I mean, good question. And there's also a lot of issues with sustainability certification of seafood in general. So it's not
Yeah,
just in terms of like the
I'm a big
terminology
seafood
and
fan. As you know, I'm from the beautiful island of Sri Lanka. So, all
yeah.
right, someone is
So
texting you. All
yeah.
right,
So
so
yeah.
share
But
the
sorry,
link,
I
bro. So
had
let's.
to Saffron.
Ah,
I had to.
go ahead.
There it
What
is.
we can close down your WhatsApp. People can
So
see your
there was
text.
this the report I saw, right? Is seafood research trends to watch out for in 2025. But really an interesting industry. So it's a growing industry, right? So you can see here there's a countries. United States is not a major producer yet, but a lot of countries like Indonesia and China are major
Well,
producers,
I
Philippines.
don't. I want, but I don't know if it is something appropriate to say.
I don't
Say
know
what to
what's up. Can
you.
you say it in an appropriate way?
No, they found something. I don't know. I saw a video of they made something with seaweed for really, really some sexual purposes. So
Oh, okay, never mind. We don't need to get into that.
yeah, yeah. But it's so
But
I was like, whoa,
yeah, but I
whoa.
mean,
Pump your
like
brakes on it.
government of India, it's investing 87 million in seaweed cultivation. It's projected to be a $23 billion market
Look
by
at does it
2028. Look at all the applications, right, for seaweed
okay.
commercial applications, agriculture, packaging, biopolymers, cosmetics, food, health, environment, a
It could
lot.
be like, does it is it protect like soil erosion, like some ocean as look
So,
what else
yeah,
of
there's
seaweed.
environmental co-benefits. One of them being it's supposed to be able to reduce local ocean acidification because it's a very effective carbon
Like mangroves.
sequestration, like mangroves, but even better than mangroves. And then, of
Can you
course,
see
reducing excess nutrients. So it can remove the excess nutrients as it requires these nutrients. It'll absorb them out of the ecosystem if there's excess nutrients, which is an issue in some areas. Also in aquaculture areas. So if you have a lot of aquaculture, it produces a lot of fish waste, which increases the nutrient level in the ocean to an unsustainable level. So if you paired that side by side with seaweed, you could also absorb some of that excess nutrients. So that's some of
so
the
let's do
co-benefits.
this, Chris. Do you think we can get this professor on our podcast?
We can always try.
Yeah, it would be nice to put it on the to-do list so we can find out if we can talk about it. So,
Yeah.
anyways,
But sorry, I
so
had to bring the seaweed back at least one more time. That's it. Done.
oh, thank you. But I mean, as my it's just, anyways, you guys can decide. Hey, First Amendment, he can say whatever he wants, so I'm not going to be in the middle of something. But thanks, guys. Thanks, Chris. It was really, I really like the Divine, that whole project that you found out, right? Is that the name of the project? Dive,
Uh, Oceanus, I think.
Oceanus. The name of the project was Dive something.
Oh, I'm not sure. It's like the autonomous
Autonomous part
research.
of
Yes,
it,
I
yeah.
think that one was Oceanus.
Oceanus, okay. So thanks guys for joining. Thanks Chris. You guys can always look out to us if you want to know about more about this project. And I mean it's pretty amazing that we are growing every day. And as a human we are finding new things, at least makes me interesting. But anything to say, Chris?
No, I think that's about it. Thanks again for joining us, and yeah, learning a little bit new every day. It's great.
All right guys. Mañana. I will say ciao.
Cheers.
Cheers. Take care.